So I want to give one or two senators also to wade in into this matter. Senator Chute Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think now it has become a trend for the CSS not to appear before this Honorable House. Honorable Speaker, if, let's say, for example, the CS for health, she's supposed to communicate to us 24 hours before. If she has sent the letter today, Honorable Speaker, that means she doesn't care. And this is a trend that has been going on and on and on. And we've said many times, Honorable Speaker, you can remember, we've said if they can give, if they have an issue, the only issue that can allow them not to come before this House is if they have a cabinet meeting. And I want this House, if they will agree with me, this trend of ignoring this House must stop, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, some time back, we even suggested censure motions. And today, as I stand here, I want to ask this House to institute a motion, a censure motion, against these two CSS. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the issue of wildlife, people, billions of money are out there with Kenya Wildlife Services that has not been paid up to today. So, Honorable Speaker, when a member poses a question for a CS, it is the responsibility of that CS to come before this House and answer those questions, Honorable Speaker. And if we keep on agreeing to the excuses, Honorable Speaker, then we are going to fail this country, Honorable Speaker. We are elected members, and even nominated members who are here. We are representing over 60 million people in this country, Honorable Speaker. And if a question is asked by a distinguished member of this House, is asking this question on behalf of 60 million Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. And if a CS in this government will ignore requests from this House, I think it is time we make a decision, Honorable Speaker. We start with a censure motion. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Wabua Enoch.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have said before that we don't want to turn ourselves into a house of lamentations, especially when dealing with wayward cabinet secretaries who have continued to show utter disrespect to the authority of this House. Mr. Speaker, for the CS in charge of matters health to communicate to your office this morning that she will not be appearing before the Senate when she is expected to be here at 10, Speaker, that is now the newest level of contempt. Mr. Speaker, I'm alive to the happenings of last evening where the CEO of SHA was suspended, and the reasons given for it, Mr. Speaker, is professional misconduct. Speaker, I don't know whether there are any provisions in law for suspension of cabinet secretaries for either professional or political misconduct. But this one, Mr. Speaker, must go to the highest office in the land. When senators come to the chamber every Wednesday morning, the express reason for the appearance, Mr. Speaker, is to ask questions for and on behalf of the counties that they represent. And those questions are supposed to be responded to by cabinet secretaries. The Speaker, is now becoming a trend. And I said this 2 weeks ago, that for 2 Wednesdays in a row, we were unable to transact the Wednesday morning sessions because cabinet secretaries are not available. We went on a break, Mr. Speaker. We have come back. The first Wednesday after the break, the cabinet secretaries don't show up. And what are we expected to do, Mr. Speaker? To just lament, express our displeasure, and wait for another Wednesday. Mr. Speaker, things must happen, and those things must begin to happen now. I was in this house, Mr. Speaker, and all of us were in this house a couple of weeks ago during the impeachment of the deputy president. And this house received a report that the deputy president then was indisposed. But in the wisdom of this house, Mr. Speaker, we continued with the process of impeachment. What avenue, Mr. Speaker, do we have to continue with our sessions, with our interrogation, and especially in the Ministry of Health, even in the face of reports that the CS is indisposed? Mr. Speaker, I want to call upon ourselves, and I have heard Senator Chute saying that perhaps we need to bring a motion of censure against the cabinet secretaries. But, Mr. Speaker, maybe that is not enough. Maybe, Mr. Speaker, the starting point would be to have a serious and candid conversation with the appointing authority of the CSs, so we get to know, the Speaker, whether these sessions make sense to government or maybe they don't make sense, Mr. Speaker. The reason for these sessions, Mr. Speaker, as I said, are for exclusively to have an engagement with cabinet secretaries for and on behalf of our constituents. If you look at the order paper, Mr. Speaker, for every Wednesday morning, there's no provision for another business. It's just questions to cabinet secretaries. If they cannot appear, Mr. Speaker, then perhaps we should even disband the Wednesday morning sittings. I speak for myself, and I speak for myself. This morning, I was supposed to be doing homework with my son. I had to leave him and come to engage with the CSs. Now I've missed out on doing homework with my son, and I'm missing out on engagement with cabinet secretaries. For me, it's a wasted morning. And each senator here will have a story to say about what they were supposed to be doing. Now, Speaker, I think a time has come that really, and this is a bipartisan issue. This has got nothing to do with the political alignment of anyone. Mr. Speaker, these cabinet secretaries, who are the face of the president, are giving this government a very bad name. That's what it is. Because, I mean, you cannot be invited to come to the Senate, and in the morning of the day that you're supposed to appear, you're writing a letter to the Speaker. The Speaker, if I were you, and I thank God that I'm not you, that's a letter that you just, RTS, just return to center. It's a letter that should not even be read before the Senate. It's contempt to the Speaker. The Speaker, with those remarks, I'm at a loss as to whether, Mr. Speaker, continue with these morning sessions on Wednesday, or free senators to engage in other activities which would also be more beneficial, perhaps to their families and to the people that they represent, than coming to sit here to wait for cabinet secretaries who have no respect at all to the Senate. The Speaker, I submit.
Senator Esther Okinyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I equally wish to join my colleague senators in expressing my displeasure in the failure by the cabinet secretaries to appear in this House, which has the mandate of the people. Mr. Speaker, this is one of the reasons I actually want to side with the President of being a lonely voice in government. The cabinet secretaries have chance to add voice to what government is doing in serving Kenyans. But you see, cabinet secretary tenders a very casual letter to members after very critical issues that we anticipated to be addressed this morning, Mr. Speaker. You can see the issue of polio vaccines, the allegations of children who have actually suffered adverse effects. I expected the Cabinet Secretary for Health to address and shed light on those matters. The issue of tuberculosis, the issue of HIV, those are very critical decisions we as a House ventilate on, question on, and get highlight on what government is doing. But it's really sad that when offered such a platform, a cabinet secretary tends to prioritize other matters other than life and death decisions we, which as a House, have to make. Mr. Speaker, I want to say as a young legislator, it's very disheartening because these are people we actually want to lead by example, but this is what they are showing the young people and women of this country. Mr. Speaker, and very many other special interest groups that we represent, it's really sad, and I do not wish that members keep lamenting over this issue. There is a clear cut line on why Parliament acts as a separate arm. And I think cabinet secretaries need to prioritize the business of Parliament because Parliament has the mandate by the people. So this morning, I'm actually very disappointed that such heavy critical matters that were to be raised by different senators from these questions here are just going to pass by as time goes by and the clock is slowly ticking, Mr. Speaker. So this shouldn't be a joke like any other, Mr. Speaker. A serious discussion needs to happen around this because it's now become a norm that cabinet secretaries don't show up, time elapses before you even get a solution to what you raised. You've even lost, if it were patients, you've even lost them before they get redress on their matters. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Maanzo Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this morning we were ready to deal with the question of health. There are many issues. There are many questions relating to the Ministry of Health. There are many questions relating to SHA and SHIF. There are many questions relating to the 1998 American bombing victims, who we had earlier on asked the Ministry of Health to provide specialized medical health care to these particular persons. Just before I came to the House, I met a constituent of Makueni, who, shouted frantically at the gate that he needs help from me, that his child is stuck in hospital and he has been denied access because of SHA and SHIP, and yet he had paid. Mr. Speaker, these are the issues we wanted the Minister for Health to elaborate. Mr. Speaker, if we allow all cabinet secretaries to say that they have just gotten ill every morning of Wednesday, and no one ever comes to answer questions here, Mr. Speaker, the country will suffer. We all appreciate that one can get sick or fall ill anytime, although this House rejected the time of impeachment of DP Gachagua. It is something courts usually allow. But we want to say that it is important that we have quite a number of cabinet secretaries. Even if one is taken ill, the others should be able to appear so that, and they know that on Wednesdays is our day with him, and even the cabinet and even their boss, the president, knows that we have set aside Wednesday for this. And that's why this particular day, there is never cabinet or an engagement with them, with the president, unless it is extremely urgent. And I believe cabinet secretaries should take Parliament serious. They are the image of the government. In this particular matter, they have failed the government terribly, and something must be done. Either one resigns if they are unable to handle the business as a cabinet secretary, or as a house, we take action, as Senator Chute has said, so that we can discuss the conduct of this particular cabinet secretaries. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd beg to say that it is important that the cabinet takes this house seriously. I thank you.
Senator David Wakoli. Because, you know, we might lament here the whole morning. So
asante. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa nafasi hii angalau utaja machache kuhusiana na mchecheto mzima huu wa ukosefu wa mawaziri kuja hapa kujieleza kwa mapana na marefu. Mheshimiwa Spika, Biblia inasema Yesu alipokuwa anatembea na wafuasi, wakamuona mwanamke mmoja, wakamuita mzinzi, wakataka hata wampige mawe. Mheshimiwa Spika, na Yesu kwa busara yake akasema, nani miongoni mwenu hana dhambi? Yule asiye na dhambi atupe jiwe wa kwanza. Mheshimiwa Spika, wengi walifiata midomo, wakaweka mikia katikati ya miguu, Mheshimiwa Spika, na hatimaye wakamwacha binti huyu ambaye alikuwa anashiriki biashara zake. Kile ningependa kusema Mheshimiwa Spika ni kwamba hakuna mtu duniani humu hana dosari. Hakuna mtu duniani humu hana makosa. Kuteleza sio kuanguka. Na mimi naomba jumba la Senate kwamba tuna haki kikatiba kuwasikiza na wao kutupa majibu kuhusiana na changamoto zinazowakumba wa Kenya. Ni dhahiri shahiri kwamba mfumo wa afya una changamoto. Tumeona viongozi wa wafanyikazi, madaktari wakitoa ilani. Yote tunakubali Mheshimiwa Spika, na sisi chote tunachotaraji ni kwamba waziri wa afya na yule mwenzake waweze kuja katika jumba la Senate, tujadili kwa pamoja na tutafute njia mbadala za kutatua changamoto hizi. Mheshimiwa Spika, waziri wa afya na mwenzake wako na nafasi kwa sababu ni wataalamu wa muda mrefu, wajieleze, watume arafa ama waje. Watueleze siku ambayo wamo tayari, wapo watakuwa tayari wiki lijalo Mheshimiwa Spika, ili kazi ambayo tunayo katika jumba la Senate iweze kusonga kwa kasi. Sasa mimi sitaki kuwa yule mfuasi wa kutupa mawe katika kundi la wale wa Kristo waliotaka uponyaji, lakini ni kuomba Senate iwape nafasi, iwapo ni wiki lijalo, waje wajieleze kinagaubaga, tufunge ukurasa wa changamoto hizi na tusonge mbele Mheshimiwa Spika. Na mwisho, hawa ni mawaziri ambao ni wapya, ni ufagio ambao lazima uanze kufagia na kutengeneza serikali. Sasa tuwape nafasi, japo tuna hasira za mkizi ni furaha kwa mvuvi Mheshimiwa Spika, na sisi sio wavuvi Mheshimiwa Spika. Sisi ni jumba la Senate ambalo tunawapenda wote, na tuwape wote nafasi kufanya kazi kwa mujibu wa katiba na yale yanayoweza kufanyika kibinadamu. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Mudigi Alexander.
Asante Bwana Spika. Mimi niko na huzuni mkubwa kwa sababu siku ya leo, wakati tulisema mawaziri watakuwa nakuja siku ya Jumatano, tulikuwa tuko na mahono ya kusaidia mwananchi katika masinani, Bwana Spika, kwa sababu tukiwa maseneta sisi huwa tunatetea ukatuzi, na ukatuzi hawa mawaziri wanafanya kazi katika masinani ndio mwananchi aweze kufaidika. Na niko na huzuni pia kama sisi maseneta tunaweza kuja hapa na mambo ya ukoo ama mtu ni wa ukoo gani, alafu tunaanza kutetea, kwa sababu najua wakati Bwana Spika wale tulitimua na tukaleta wengine wapya wamekuja na ujuzi ya kufanya kazi, kwa sababu Bwana Spika wakati mtu amechaguliwa anafaa kujua siku hiyo anafaa anje kazi. Ni kama vile Yesu alikuwa anateua watu na watu wafanya kazi kutoka siku hiyo. Tuko na mfano Bwana Spika, wakati deputy mteule ambaye Abraham Kindiki Kithure alichaguliwa alianja kazi mara moja. Sasa nimeshindwa kama nimeona senator mwenzangu, kwa sababu mtu ni wa kabila yake anakuja kumtetea. Ukatusi tutaiua, kwa sababu niko na huzuni katika Embu County. Waziri ambaye ni wanyama wa pori ambaye siku ya leo wiki hii Bwana Spika, wiki hii unakuta Kiambere Ward kuna kijana mmoja ameuawa na ndovu, na saa hii watu familia hao hawana chochote na kuwa wanachanga. Kwa hiyo niko na huzuni. Bwana Spika, nataka unipe nafasi niweze kuongea, kwa sababu wana wakoli rafiki yangu ameongea kamaliza. Niko na huzuni, nataka nisaidiwe, kwa sababu mtu anaitwa John Muturi Mugo Kiambere Ward ambaye ameuawa na ndovu jana, na leo mvua inanyesha, na huyo waziri wanyama pori angekuwa hapa. Pia niko na huzuni, jana usiku mambo ya SHA na National Insurance Fund kuko na vita, unakuta kuna mtu ametimuliwa na watu wanakufa, wengine wanagonjeka, alafu sasa mambo mengine yanafanyika. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, mimi nakataa mambo ya wale maseneta wanapinga. Ningetaka watu washukuriwe hatua ambaye ni kali, kwa sababu tuko na njia ya kufuata katiba ya serikali ya muungano. Asante Bwana Spika.
You should also give him that opportunity, because I'm the one controlling the house. There was a point of order which was persistently requested by Senator Wakoli, and you did not give him that opportunity when he was on the floor. So now, because he is not on the floor, it is not possible to give you the point of order. Yes, 1 minute.
Honorable Speaker, it is out of order, utter discontent and misuse of power for a colleague to rise on the floor of this house, cast aspersions that whenever we stand on the floor of this house, we are talking on tribal basis. Honorable Speaker, I respect Dr. Mundigi, but he's assuming and pushing away the title doctor and remaining with the Mundigi alone, Honorable Speaker. He needs to withdraw that statement and talk like a doctor, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Mundigi, what did, because you did not even mention what he said, that you feel it is out of order.
Is it in order to allege that I'm talking based on tribal lines? I'm an Honorable Speaker, speaking out of cognizance of pedagogy, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Mundigi, can you clarify that issue raised by
Asante Bwana Speaker, sikuwe na umbaya yote na viki yangu ambaye ni Wakoli, senator ambaye kutoka kule upande wa Bungoma. Ni rafiki wangu, ni kuwa sikuwe na maneno yoyote. Mimi naunga wasiri wote mkono wale walichaguliwa. Ni vile niko na shinda kwa sababu ile mambo yanaendelea, mambo ya SHA, na nikashindwa kwa nini wasiri anja kuja. Na pia umesikia hapa nikiongea kule Kiambere Ward, mtu aitwa John Muturi ambaye Mugo, ni kitu ambaye imefanya niwe na njia ya kuwa mwili yangu haisikii vizuri. Kwa hivyo ningeomba hiyo mambo nimeongea nisamewa, lakini Bwana Speaker, next time wasiri wakiwa tumewatimua, kwa sababu umeona hata Dr. Karwali ametoka hapa, na fikiri hiyo ndio kitu imefanya atoke katika hapa, na tunajua watu wasiri wengine walikuja hapa unakuta wanatetemeka. Bwana Speaker, siko na mbaya. Bwana Speaker,
asante na pole kwa kuumwa. Senator Kavidu Agnes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. It's really sad for us to be here every Wednesday morning and we don't see any CS coming to answer the questions. Mr. Speaker, it is important for these CSs to know that we have cancelled all other businesses for this house in the morning Wednesdays. Even committee meetings does not meet because of giving this questioning time first priority, because we need to question them about the issues that they should be doing. Mr. Speaker, I am here this morning because of the 1998 bomb blast. These people are really suffering without even care from our government. And this morning I was ready to face the CS and let her or him explain why these people cannot get medication. Mr. Speaker, we are facing a lot of trouble at our counties, especially Machakos County, because when people go to hospital, instead of the SHA putting up the bills, Mr. Speaker, SHA is not in operation and people have paid and they cannot be discharged from hospitals. They keep on calling us for bills and we keep on making phone calls to NHIF to know what is happening. Mr. Speaker, this is wrong, and CS for health must appear before this Senate to answer questions. Even if she's unwell, she has an assistant or the PS at the ministry. They should appear. Mr. Speaker, it is not right for us to waste our time to come here every Wednesday and we find there is no work we are coming here to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavidu, you know our standing order does not provide appearance by any other person except the CS. So the PS is not admissible in the Senate. Maybe you will check standing order 51C. They will guide you who should appear. Only the CS should appear before the Senate. Anyway, we get next Senator Sigei Wakiri Hilali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This House stands in a very high status under the Constitution, and the mandate of summoning the Cabinet Secretaries for purposes of responses to questions by honorable members is a very, very important role that, as we have previously stated in the House, the Cabinet Secretaries who at any given time are required to appear have appropriate notice, and the questions they are supposed to come and answer already availed to them in good time. For the honorable CSs not to appear this morning, Mr. Speaker, some of them with very flimsy reasons is an utter disrespect of the House. And being a member of the House that has come in this morning to ask questions regarding not only the interest of the people whom I in particular represent, but for the entire country, it is very unfortunate that we do not have them appearing in the House. At the risk, Mr. Speaker, of being creating an extension of the lamentations that you previously had, I have looked at the two letters from the two CSs. One, Mr. Speaker, which has been received after the House started from the CS of Health, has got an explanation that the Cabinet Secretary is indisposed. This, Mr. Speaker, from the previous resolutions of this House do not stand the reasons why a Cabinet Secretary is unable to appear before the House. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we had yesterday in the SBC not received this letter. The standing orders of this House, which applies to all who are required to appear, requires them to have submitted any excuse or letter in good time to justify their non-appearance. This is a fly and an utter disrespect in the House for the CS to write and say she's merely indisposed. I would want to agree with the Honorable Senator Chute and the rest of my colleagues who have said that it is high time we censure these cabinet secretaries who have shown disrespect to the House. We have a right to discuss their conduct and censure them, Mr. Speaker, because if they are unable to appear before the House and for no reason at all that is justifiable, then they have no business being holders of such high offices. The other one, Mr. Speaker, which is one of the reasons why we also should call them out, is a letter received yesterday, which the House Business Committee rejected, by the Honorable CS for, this is what the CS said in the letter, that, Mr. Speaker, today they were to attend to a prior scheduled ministerial event on black rhino ear notching and fitting of monitoring devices. This is something that a cabinet secretary can delegate to a person of the lowest rank in that particular ministry. It cannot be a reason for a CS to say he is abandoning a responsibility to appear before the House to go and fit in monitoring devices to a rhino in the national park. Mr. Speaker, this is the sort of behavior that we have said before, that these people, the moment they get into office, they forget that they are holding such offices for the interest of the Kenyans. And the best interest of Kenyans can only be served by appearing before this House to answer questions of national importance that represent the people who are represented by the senators in this particular House. This particular letter, Mr. Speaker, was rejected, and the CS was asked to appear. We have not received any response to the letter that had indicated to him or her that we are not buying the excuse. And, Mr. Speaker, it is high time that, as I've said, we censor these cabinet secretaries for them to appreciate the importance of appearing before the Senate, because if they take the House the way they do with disrespect, they definitely cannot take their responsibility as cabinet secretaries as serious as it should be. And we have got so many Kenyans who are capable, willing and ready to serve in such offices. So, Mr. Speaker, even as we regret the time that we have wasted this morning, we also call upon the authorities relevant to call upon these irresponsible CSS to appear before the House. We are struggling right now with the issue with regards to the health sector, the SHIF and SHA, Mr. Speaker. This would have been a very important opportunity for the Cabinet Secretary for Health to explain to the Kenyans the situation as is. Yesterday we had, and we saw the national news carrying a position taken to suspend the CEO of SHA, and it is a time that Kenyans need to understand the things or the positions or options the government is taking in order to make sure that they streamline the representations that we have in the Ministry of Health. And if the Cabinet Secretary can just wake up in the morning and say, I'm indisposed, I therefore cannot appear before the Senate, Mr. Speaker, we don't buy it, we do not accept it, it's not acceptable, and we are calling them out because they are failing Kenyans, they are failing the government that is highly expected to perform and support the programs that help the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, it is not acceptable at all, and we do not, as a House, condone such kind of character and behavior by the Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I join my colleagues in calling them out and say this is improper, and I thank you.
Honorable Senators, the time we had set for these interventions is almost over. So maybe if you give you time, just take 2 minutes, kindly. The whole country has earned the Senate this morning. Therefore, maybe if we even conclude this discussion, the better. I want to give one of the senators when they question with the Minister of On Drive, Senator Richard Julius Mulgo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also add my displeasure about the behavior of our cabinet secretaries. This, Mr. Speaker, actually shows the attitude that our CSs have towards the Senate, and it seems like they have no regard for Senate, and they probably do not have a clue what this House stands for and what the members represent. And therefore, that translates into even them not prioritizing the situation and the plight of the citizens that these members represent. And so when our citizens and the citizens of Kenya bring their situations and pressures and plights in hospitals and so on to us, these people have no interest in attending and prioritizing the situation of health, the situation of those that are killed by elephants, and many others. And therefore, their priorities are not Kenyan, their priorities are not in agreement with what members in this House are looking at as being concerns of Kenyans. And so action that is of the highest level needs to be taken so that a lesson is learned, and therefore bringing awareness and awakening status to the cabinet secretaries. And therefore I agree with one member that said that we should take our